Let's move on to the practical part of the lesson. Let's analyze these two animations of the appearance of the same logo, in which morphings play the main role. In the first version, all of the letters appear in the same way. They are morphing at the moment of the impact. Here you can see all the rules of good morphing: common easing, speed, anticipation, bounces, and distracting elements. In the second version, more types of morphing are used. There is an overlap, replacement, and transformation of the object's shape. In addition, all of that is seasoned with excellent dynamics and speed lines. Before we start analyzing the animation, let's talk briefly about the idea of the logo. Talbot is a company that deals with brand attributes. That is, applying the logo of a company or a brand to any things, accessories, clothes, and so on. And our task was to reflect the activities of the company in the appearance of the logo. We decided to draw the icons associated with the activities of their company in the style of the logo, and then morph them into the company's logo. The customer liked this idea, and we implemented it in two versions. Let's move on to the first of them. Let's briefly analyze our animation. All icons morph into letters according to one principle. If we remove the arcs, offsets, and rotations, we will see the same speed graphs at the position of all the icons. Let's have a closer look at the morphing of a letter in After Effects. It quickly flies out, slows down at the highest point for a while, and then it accelerates when falling down. When the speed reaches its peak at the lowest point, we replace the icon with the letter, and we add bounces to make the movement look seamless. We are doing everything by the book. Now let's morph the first two letters together. Let's start with animating the bottle flying out. Create a keyframe on position and go to frame 0. Move the bottle to the place where it starts flying out. Then go to the middle and set the highest point of the arc trajectory. Here's our trajectory. Now let's set up the speed graphs. Double-click, check Continuous. OK. Let's increase velocity a little so that the bottle wouldn't just stop, but rather have a smooth transition to acceleration. Let's adjust our graphs a little, make them a bit sharper. Here, something like this. OK, yes, I'm fine with this. Let's animate the appearance of the bottle by scale. Press the S key. Set two keyframes on frame 0 and frame 5. Reduce the scale value to 0 in frame 0. Got it. Let's add a stunning rotation effect to the bottle. Let's animate rotation. Press R. Create a keyframe. Go to the end and set one rotation. This is what I got. Next, select the keyframes and press F9. Let's turn the bottle along the arc when it's coming to the moment of falling down. Let's increase acceleration at the beginning of the movement. Done. At frame 23, make a replacement and trim the layers with the letter and the bottle. Now you need to make a bounce on the letter to create a seamless transformation. Set a keyframe. Move it one frame forward. Stretch the letter. Apply elastic for the bounce. You need to adjust elastic. So let's reduce amplitude. Let's also increase the frequency of bounces. It looks quite good. Add an overlap by using the Bend It effect. Type toComp value in Start, and in End set the points correctly. Done. Animate Bend. Copy the elastic expressions from the scale property and paste them into bend. Let's move the keyframes once again. Move them one more frame backward. Great, the first letter is done. Let's move on to the second one. Disable the layer with the letter T and enable the second letter. Let's do it in the same way. First, we animate the icon flying out. Done. Add some squeezing and stretching to the object by animating its scale. Stretch it out after one frame. Set scale to 100.0, 100.0 at the highest point. Stretch the object once again closer to falling down. Select the keyframes and press F9. Adjust the speed graphs. I've decided to shift the center keyframe to get rid of a slight pause at the top. Next, let's animate the letter the way we did before. You already know the process. Done. I got such a result. Next, we animate the remaining letters by the same principle. Set timings in the order the letters appear. Add speed lines and the final appearance of the logo. We will analyze how to make such a ribbon on the example of another logo. I suggest taking a break and proceeding with the second version. In this part of the practice, we will make such an interesting animation. I've broken it down into 5 steps for convenience. After completing these 5 steps, you will be able to assemble the entire animation. And at the same time, you'll reinforce your knowledge about morphings. In the first step, you will learn how to create such an overlap that reveals the bottle using CC cylinder. As the second step, with the help of ribbons, we will morph the bottle into a shirt. Third step, we will morph the shirt into a pen by overlapping as well. And then we'll create a spectacular morphing of the pen into a USB flash drive. Along the way, we'll discover how to make a fake 3D rotation of the pen. The fourth step, we will morph the flash drive into a bag. We will figure out how to make a fake 3D rotation of the flash drive in style. As the fifth step, we will take a look at how to easily make this 3-dimensional ribbon and how to use it to morph a part of the bag into a logo. Let's move on to the first step. Let's create a 3-dimensional ribbon. Draw a stroke and name it ribbon. Apply the CC cylinder effect to it. This effect turns our path into a 3-dimensional ribbon. Let's adjust the path. Enable the layer with the bottle to see where to place the ribbon. Lower it a little bit. Now let's animate our ribbon using trim paths. Let's animate the end parameter from 0 to 100. And then copy this animation and paste it into the start parameter. Press F9. I got such an animation. Next, let's animate radius so that the ribbon gets narrower at the end. Right here, there is a slight narrowing that you can clearly see. There is another great parameter, rotation Y. Let's open it. So let's go to another time. You will see it better here. Here you can perfectly see the volume of this ribbon. Now we will animate it. Let's adjust the speed graphs. Select the keyframes and press F9. OK. Increase stroke. So now the whole ribbon is too wide. Let's animate it. First, adjust path as you need. Pull up the upper point, and I want to pull down the lower one as well. So let's see what we got. Set the keyframes apart a little bit. Next, I don't want the ribbon to have this stroke width throughout the whole animation. So let's animate its stroke width from 0 to 52. Here the ribbon gets a wider stroke. And in the end, I set it down to 0. Now let's see what we got. We got such an animation. So it has become a little neater. Let's work on the design of the ribbon. Now we have a gradient. In order to make it one color, decrease light intensity to 0. The color is still incorrect, so raise the ambient value to 100 in the Shading tab. Now the color is correct. Let's duplicate the ribbon layer and raise it a little higher. And let's offset it by a couple of frames. Like this. Let's see what we got. You can also animate position Y to get an effect as if the ribbon rises from the bottom up. Let's lower it a little bit. Here's the effect we got. Duplicate this animation to the second ribbon. Now we need to make the object appear to be inside the ribbons. To do this, we need separate external and internal parts of the ribbons, and we need to place the object between them. Select the two ribbons and pre-compose them. Here is ribbon outside. Go to the project panel. Duplicate the ribbon outside and rename it to ribbon inside. Then go to ribbon outside. Now click on the layer and select outside in the render tab for the first and second ribbons. Now you can only see the outer part of the ribbon, so it will lie on top of the layer. Let's go to the ribbon inside. Now set inside here in the first and second layers. And this is the inner part, which we will place under the object. Let's paint both the first and the second parts in a darker color, like this. We have finished animating the ribbons. Now let's add the appearance of the bottle. The bottle appears by position, and with the help of a mask. That is, the mask goes down, as you see, thus revealing the bottle. We've created a fake 3D rotation on this layer by using the repeater modifier, and masked it by using the set matte effect. This is the animation we got. Let's move on to the next step. In this step, we will animate the morphing of a ribbon into a shirt. So let's get started. We have prepared a shirt and a tie for you. The ribbons are already animated, and you know how to do it. In the first part, we've looked at how to make such ribbons, so everything is simple here. So let's get started. Let's animate it right away. We will change the shirt in one frame, so we need to lower it a little by position. it will get here. So all we need to do is add the elastic expression. Now it's too big. Let's reduce amplitude to 15. And let's increase decay up to 80. Let's see. Yes, I like it. Now let's trim the layer and the ribbon and make a replacement. Cool. Let's add a secondary animation. Animate the tie using the CC Bendit effect. Type toComp value in start and copy it to end. Now set the points correctly. Try to play around with bend. Everything works fine. Everything is correct. Now let's animate it from -38 up to 0. So what have we got? You can't see the effect yet. Let's add the elastic expression here. Play the animation. This is not enough. Let's increase the value to 65. Now that's better. Let's move it to the beginning, a few frames to the right. Yes, that's what I need. Now drag the composition with the morphing to the main one. Find the place that you need. And at the moment of overlapping, you simply trim the composition with the bottle. Thus, we get such a combined morphing with both overlapping and replacement. It has turned out great. The third step is the most difficult and the most interesting one. First, we will morph the shirt into a pen by overlapping and then morph the pen into a USB flash drive at the moment of an impact. Let's get started. We have prepared all the layers. We need to place the shirt layer between the ribbons. Select the layers. Copy them and paste them into the main composition. Done. Now let's move them along the timeline and look for a place where the morphing will begin. This is somewhere around here. Move the shirt layer above the ribbon layer and trim it at the right time. Move the pen to the center and proceed to the animation. Let's animate rotation. Create a keyframe. Move 10 to 12 frames forward. And set rotation to, let's say, 26 degrees. Let's also adjust the speed graph right away. Press F9. Go to the speed graph. Here it will sharply accelerate, and then smoothly slow down. Move the first keyframe a bit. Here's the result. So let's move on. Now we need a rotation after this. Let's move further by 20 frames. The pen needs to make a full rotation, hang in the air, and then morph into a USB flash drive. So let's adjust the speed graphs once again. Use motion tools. Make such a graph. Let's experiment a little more. I won't leave it at 0 at this point in order to avoid an abrupt stop, since we need a smooth transition. Here we got something like this. Next, let's animate position, that is, the pen also needs to fly up. Move it up at this moment in time along the y-axis. Select it. Press F9 and adjust it. Again, we need it to fly out quickly and to slow down at the end. Let's adjust the animation a little more. Let's see at what level the USB flash drive is located in order to adjust the height of the pen flying up. Raise the pen higher. Copy the first keyframe on the position and paste it to make the pen land in the place of the flash drive. Adjust the animation. Not bad. We have the main movement. Let's add a rotation to the pen. Let's see how to make a fake 3D rotation of the pen in a separate composition. Select a keyframe on path. Move a few frames forward and drag path to the opposite side of the pen in such a way as if it rotates. Next, move a few frames more and copy the first keyframe. So we get a circular movement, and all we need to do is turn off opacity when the cap goes behind the pen, and turn it on at the moment it appears. We've got such an animation. Now you can copy path and opacity. The white circle is made by using set mate and the repeater modifier. That is, it is multiplied by the repeater. Set mate acts as a mask, which means that the pen acts as a mask for the layer with circles. Enable set mate and animate the position of the layer. We've got such a fake 3D rotation of the pen. Let's morph the pen into a flash drive. So let's choose the moment of touch and then extend the pen a little. Go to this moment. Select the USB flash drive and decrease its opacity to see the layer with the pen. Now let's set a keyframe on scale and adjust the scale of the flash drive under the pen like this. Next, lower the position a little and apply bounce to it. I'll apply elastic to the scale and offset the position. This is the offset that gives such a rubber effect, which is fine by me. Next, let's also animate the scale of the lower part. Stretch it in width. And apply the elastic expression too. Set the opacity to 100 once again. This is the result we got. Reduce the amplitude a little, because you can see the gaps there, when the upper part of the flash drive jumps up. Now everything is okay. Next, remove this extra frame of the pen. Let's see what we got. In order to get a better feel of touching the ground, I will shift the flash drive by one frame, and extend the pen so that there is one more frame when the pen touches the ground. Thus, we'll improve the movement. Okay, let's animate the path. Make small stretches and stretch the path at this point in time. Next, copy easing and paste it. Let's move the first keyframe. Now you can see an effect of a slight delay, as if the pen is stretched. Next, we will do the same with the circle. The circle will also go up. Copy the easing and paste it again. Move the first keyframe to the left. And now we have such an effect of a small delay. Next, let's animate the position of this circle on the flash drive. Move it a bit down and apply the elastic expression to it. Offset the circle relative to the entire flash drive for a couple of frames. We get such an overlapping movement as if the circle of the pen turns into the circle of the flash drive. This is the animation we got in the end. I have also added speed lines here to emphasize the speed of the pen movement in certain places. Let's move on to morphing the flash drive into the bag. Here we will also do an overlap, and we will make a fake rotation of the flash drive. Let's get started. We need to make a fake 3D rotation of the flash drive. Let's animate the path properties. So the keyframes are set. Now let's move a few frames forward. Select the point and press Ctrl-T. Then, while holding down the Control key, drag the points, so the path gets squeezed to the center. Let's move a few more frames forward, copy the first keyframe and paste it here. Next, on the second path, drag the points as well, holding down the Control key. Squeeze it a little and duplicate the first keyframe. Select the blue part and squeeze it as well, holding down Control. Let's see what we got. Well, I don't really like its intermediate position. Let's make it a little wider. Select the points and stretch the main part a little, holding down the Control key. Let's also adjust the upper point. Select this position and press Clone to duplicate the intermediate position. Now it looks better. Let's animate the lower part of the flash drive in the same way. Next, select the keyframes and move them to the place of morphing. Okay, let's make a squeeze that will be the preparation for replacement. The flash drive will squeeze, and the bag will stretch out. Thus, the morphing will look more seamlessly. It is like preparation, and the bag will have a compensating movement on the scale. Let's use Clone once again. So let's see. Now let's work on the bag. Reduce the scale, which means squeezing it a little. And at this moment of morphing, it will stretch out with a bounce. We've achieved the desired effect. Now let's speed up the flash drive a little bit. Select the keyframes, and while holding down the Alt key, drag the last keyframe. Now that's already much better. Let's refine the animation a little more. Add the morphing to the main composition and move it to the right place. Let's put the project in order. Trim all the speed lines and ribbons, so that it is clear which layers are visible now. And trim the layer with the flash drive. We've got such a result. Let's move on to the final morphing of the bag into the logo. In this step, I will show you how to quickly draw and animate such a volumetric ribbon, which is the main trick in this morphing. Let's move on to the animation. So let's morph the blue part of the bag into the blue part of the logo. Disable all the unnecessary layers first. The arc will go along this trajectory. Enable the layer with the finished animation. Our task here is to learn the technique of drawing a three-dimensional ribbon in parts and then reveal it with masks. Draw the first shape layer before the bend here. Then duplicate the layer and move the extreme points, so this will be the second part before the second bend. Reduce the opacity to see a sharper outline. After that, duplicate the layer again and drag the points to the final position. As a result, we've got three parts of the ribbon. Set the opacity back to 100. And paint the ribbons the color you need. And let's move on to the animation. Draw a mask on top of the layer. Let's animate the mask path. Create a keyframe. Move forward and animate the mask path. That is, the mask needs to reveal the ribbon first. Then duplicate the same mask and set the blending mode to subtract. Then shift it relative to the first mask. Thus, we get a trim path type animation of start and end. That is, the first mask reveals the ribbon, and the second mask removes it. In the same way, we work on the other two parts. Again, duplicate and click Subtract. Note that I shift the beginning of the animation of the next layer when the animation of the previous one ends. This way we get a looped appearance. Trim the beginning of the logo layer and trim the ribbons. Let's also animate the beginning of flying out. In this part of the blue bag, I will simply animate the path for a few frames. And then I will simply trim the beginning of the ribbon flying out. So this is the ribbon animation we got. Next, create the three other animations following the same example, and simply finalize them with the speed lines. Drag the composition to the main one. Find the right time for morphing, and move it to the very end. Here it is. Let's just trim the bottom layer and see. Yes, great. In this lesson, we've learned to make overlapping ribbons in two ways, with CC cylinders and revealing with masks, as well as mastered different types of morphings in practice. See you in the next lesson.